Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nadine and I'm a registered midwife here working in the UK. So in today's video, I'll be talking about my midwifery journey and my story to becoming a registered midwife. So I get a lot of questions, people asking me what subjects I took, what inspired me to become a midwife, what was the ups, what was the downs. So I'll be telling you guys all of that in today's video and answering some of you guys' questions because you guys asked me things like what subjects I took, what inspired me. So I'll be answering all of that in today's video and hoping to inspire those that would like to become a midwife and basically give you guys hope, because my journey wasn't straightforward, it wasn't easy, but I'll be discussing all of that in today's video. But before I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, hit the like button if you guys enjoy my video, and without further ado, let's get started with today's video. So let me start by answering the first question that most people ask me. And the first question that people ask me is, what inspired you to become a midwife? So many things inspired me to become a midwife, but the two main things are my mum was a midwife and she would tell me so many things about her world, what she had to do on a day-to-day when she goes to work and things like that. The stories she would tell me, the people that she would look after and the situations that she was in basically inspired me to become a midwife. I was so intrigued with the world of midwifery. I was so intrigued with pregnancy. I was so fascinated by pregnancy, about being part of something so magical, something so beautiful in people's lives, and being part of that happiness basically excited me, and I was so eager to be part of that world. And seeing my mum do this job basically inspired me to also follow in her footsteps and become a midwife. So the next thing that inspired me was when my friend fell pregnant. She basically took us on the journey of her pregnancy and her birth. When I was in hospital with her when she was laboring, I saw what the midwives were doing, and I saw how they were caring for her, how they were communicating with her, and I was so intrigued with all of that, with her pregnancy, how she was growing life in her and how she was transforming into a mother. Being part of that whole experience basically excited me, and I thought, this is what I want to do in life. I want to be part of something so magical, something so important in people's lives, and I decided this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be when I grow up, and I decided to then start my journey to become a registered midwife. So my journey basically started when I was in secondary school, when I was doing my GCSEs, and they basically asked us to pick the subjects that we wanted to do to shape our career. So the next question that I get asked a lot is, what subjects did I pick at GCSE level that helped me become a registered midwife? So at GCSE level, and this is in secondary school, I decided to do obviously the mandatory GCSEs that you have to do, which is your maths, English and science. And on top of that, I decided to then pick health and social care BTEC, which would allow me to become a midwife and basically give me more experience and more insight in the world of healthcare and how things operate in the world of healthcare. So those are the GCSEs that I basically did at GCSE level. In secondary school, you have to do your mandatory maths and English and science at GCSE level in order for you to become a midwife. And before I picked my GCSE, I looked at the mandatory requirements for people going to university to study midwifery and make sure I had those before I sat and did my GCSE. So what I would recommend is make sure you look at the requirements for each of the universities that you would like to go for and see what they require before you can apply to become a midwife. And most universities require you to have your maths and your English, and some require you to have a science at GCSE level, so be sure to check that out before you go and apply. So after I completed my GCSEs, I then went on to college and I studied my A-levels. For A-levels, I also picked the subjects that will help me or allow me to become a midwife. I still had midwifery in my brain, that this is what I wanted to do, so therefore I need to pick the subjects that will allow me to go on to university and study midwifery. So after completing my GCSEs and getting the grades that I required in order for me to go on to university, I then had to go to college before going to university and completing my A-levels. So for my A-levels, I decided to pick sociology and double health and social care in order for me to get the correct grades or the correct UCAS points for me to then go and apply for a midwifery degree course. So those were the subjects that I picked at college level to do for my A A-levels, I picked sociology and double health and social care in order for me to then apply to do the midwifery degree course at university level. Also, during the time that I was in college, for those 2 years that I was doing my A-levels, I was also doing some work experience here and there. So some of the work experience that I did, I worked in a nursery, I worked in a care home, I worked in an antenatal clinic working with midwives, and these work experience basically helped me understand the world of healthcare, looking after people, caring for people, and basically deciding if caring for people was for me and if midwifery was for me. And it also helped me apply to midwifery because I had those experiences under my belt, and it made me look good, the fact that I went out and got experience in working in different settings. But the big one, the most important one that helped me get onto the course was my work experience working in an antenatal clinic in a maternity department, which I sourced out myself. I basically emailed the hospital. I said, can I work with you guys for a week or two, shadow some midwives and see how you guys operate? And I was basically fortunate enough to get that work experience working with midwives just to see if midwifery was still for me, and it was still for me. I still decided to go ahead and become a midwife after doing that work experience. So one thing that I would recommend if you want to become a midwife, make sure you do some sort of work experience so you can add it to your personal statements and you can talk about it in your interview. It will make you look good, the fact that you have experience, over someone that didn't go out to actually find experience or work with people and things like that. So that's one thing that I would recommend if you are looking to go to midwifery. See if you can get some sort of experience, because you can add it to things like your personal statement and you can discuss it in your interview. So many people also ask me, how did you get the work experience? Where do you go to get the work experience? And one thing I always say is there's no harm in actually emailing the hospitals or the departments or the nursing home or the nursery and basically asking them if they take students or if they take people to come and shadow or work with them and to gain some work experience. So what I would recommend is either ring the hospital, ring the ward, and see if they can take you on so you can shadow a midwife or you can work in a hospital, just to see how the environment is and to see if that's the right job for you. So after I had completed college and got the A-levels that I required, getting onto the course and studying midwifery wasn't straightforward for me. I actually didn't get a spot when I applied straight from college. So I applied and basically went to an interview, and the interviews were the worst parts for me and what basically didn't allow me to become a midwife. I hated the interviews, I hated the exams that we had to do, and I basically couldn't do it. So I'll go to one interview, and before you get an interview, they expect you to do a maths and English exam, and then you'll be accepted for an interview before you get accepted onto the course. So it's not a thing where you apply and you just get a spot. You have to actually go and sit exams and do an interview before they can consider you or take you onto the course. So what it was like for me going to the interviews, it was a nightmare. So I am not a good maths person. I don't like maths. I really struggle with maths. So when I was going out to these interviews, I would fail maths and therefore not going on to the interview process. So that's basically what happened to me. So the first time I actually tried to become a midwife, I wasn't successful and I didn't get or secure my spot to become a midwife. So after not getting a spot on the midwifery degree course, I then decided, okay, so what am I going to do with my time? All of my friends are going off to university and studying their courses that they want to do, and I'm not able to go and study the course that I want to do. So I was literally devastated. I was like, the world is over, my life is over, I'm not going to become a midwife, and I was basically in a dark place. So after failing the exams in order for me to get an interview for the course, I then decided to go to university and study a different course that will then prepare me to apply to midwifery again. So my dream wasn't over. I still was determined to become a midwife, but I just decided to go and study something else while I prepared for myself to reapply and go sit the exams and do the interviews. So I then decided to go to university and do a foundation course for a year in health and social care, so I can better prepare myself in order for me to be in the right mind frame, the right time for me to then apply and become a midwife. So I went and did a foundation course at university, which was the University of Coventry. I was there for a year and I did a foundation course in health and social care. And after my foundation course, after the year was up, I then decided to apply for midwifery again, and I didn't get in again. So this was the second time of me trying, and I didn't get a spot again. And this was because of the maths test again. I was horrible at maths, and I was basically unable to secure my spot on the midwifery degree course. There was even sometimes I had so much anxiety going to the open day or going to the interview that I would literally go there and walk back out and not actually do the interview because I was super nervous, I had anxiety, and I didn't want to fail again. So I would literally turn up and literally see everyone there ready to go in to do their test and do their interview, and I would literally walk back out and go home and be like, it's not the right time for me. So that's basically what happened after I did my foundation course. I basically applied again and I wasn't successful again. So not being successful again for the second time, I then decided to do something else. I was like, midwifery maybe isn't for me. Why am I not getting onto the course? I was very like broken. I was disheartened. I was like, this is just not going to plan. I wanted to become a midwife at that point. It's been like 2 years, it's been 3 years, and I'm still not a midwife. So I decided to do something completely different. So I applied for a completely different degree. I went on and did ODP, so Operating Department Practitioner, which was a 2-year degree. So I just decided to go do that to see if I liked it and to see whether that was a better fit for me. During my time as an ODP, I basically hated it. It was the worst thing for me. It wasn't the right job for me. So after finishing the degree course, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be an ODP. This is not for me. I didn't really find any passion in it. So I then decided to apply to midwifery again. I was like, let me go back to my original plan of becoming a midwife and let me see if I will get in for the 3rd time. So I decided to apply for midwifery again for the 3rd time, and this time I managed to secure my spot to becoming a student midwife. So I went to a few interviews, I prepared myself, I made sure that I was prepared for the exams, I made sure that I was prepared for the interview, and I was basically able to secure my spot on a midwifery degree course. So I started midwifery in the year 2017. I went to the University of West London, and that was the best year of my life. I was super excited that my journey was finally making sense and I was able to then study to become a midwife. But that was when all the hard work began. As soon as I became a student midwife, it literally hit me and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna actually become a midwife. But the journey was not over. I was still a student. I had to go through all the different tests, the exams, the assignments, the placement. I had a lot to do for the 3 years in order for me to qualify, but I was so grateful that I managed to go to the interviews, to go to the exams, and basically pass and secure my spot on the midwifery degree course. So let's talk about my journey as a student midwife. So when I started midwifery, when I became a student midwife, I got my uniform, I got my badge that said student midwife. It had my name on it. I was super excited, but I was super nervous. So as a student midwife, there was a lot of things that I had to do. I had to do placement, I had to do exams, I had to do assignments. Those 3 years were the longest and hardest years of my life. Placement was great. I was good on the practical side, but some assignments were so, long, so hard, and it just didn't make sense why we were doing like research paper when we're out here trying to be midwives. But it all made sense in the end. But my journey as a student midwife wasn't straightforward. It wasn't, a breeze. It wasn't something that just came to me straight away. It was a very difficult and long process, but it helped me and basically made me be the midwife that I am today. And I'm super grateful that I was given the opportunity to then become a midwife and study midwifery. So in looking back at my journey, I was actually not ready to become a midwife at that age, straight from college. I think I was at the age of 18. I was way too young and I wasn't in the right mind frame to become a midwife. So I feel like it was a blessing in disguise that I basically failed the interviews and that I didn't go on to do midwifery when I was at that age. But fast forward to 2017, when I'm more mature, when I'm older, when I know what I want, I am more determined to succeed in life. It was a better time for me. It was the right time for me to go on and be serious and become a student midwife. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I wasn't, taken onto the course to become a midwife at such a young age. Although there are some midwives that go from college to become midwife and they are amazing midwife, but for me personally, I feel like I wasn't in the right mind frame and I was too young, I was too immature. I just basically wanted to live my best life. I didn't want to take life so seriously, I didn't want to take things so seriously. So in failing the interview, in failing the exams, was actually a blessing in disguise for me. So before I move on, I get so many questions, people asking me what universities did I apply for and how were the process and what did you feel about each university that I applied for. So when you apply to go to university, you have to pick 5 universities before making your application via UCAS. So the universities that I picked to go to when I was, applying for university for the 3rd time was University of West London, King's College University, Anglia Ruskin, City University and Greenwich University, but the one that I actually ended up going to was University of West London. When I went to the interview for Greenwich, I literally walked in and walked out. There was literally hundreds of people and they were offering about 30 spaces. So when I walked in, I was like, this is just going to be impossible. So Greenwich, I didn't actually sit the exam or go through the interview process because I walked in and I was so overwhelmed with the amount of people that were there. I literally walked in and walked out and I was like, that was not the right university for me. When I went to University of West London and I was going through the whole exam process and the whole interview process, I literally fell in love with the university and the people, the lecturers, the team. So that was the university I picked to go to after they offered me a conditional offer. I accepted and that's the university that I ended up going to, and it was by far the best university for me and I had the best experience at University of West London. But that is one question that I get all the time, was what are the 5 universities that I picked. So those are the 5 universities that I picked and I ended up picking University of West London. So fast forward, I'm now done with my 3 years of midwifery school. I'm now a qualified midwife. I've done all my assignments, I've done all my placement hours, I've handed everything in. So I qualified in the year 2020, just as COVID was literally starting and at its highest point. In my 3rd year, I remember we were fast tracked to band 5, so we can support the ward and basically support those that were off sick, the high demand of people coming in with COVID and things like that. So in my 3rd year, I was actually working as a band 5 and getting paid, because they basically asked us, if you're a 3rd year student, do you want to take a year out and basically hope for the pandemic to sort itself out and allow students to go back, or do you want to work and finish your placement hours and then qualify on time? So I was like, I've been waiting for this for a very long time. I am not just gonna pause, I am going to work through the pandemic. And obviously it was a bonus, we were going to get paid for our last year of being a student midwife. Just so you know, as student midwives here in the UK, we actually don't get paid when we're out on placement. But in my 3rd year on placement, because of the pandemic, they actually paid the student at a band 4 in order for them to support the staff, to support the department during the whole pandemic and everything that was going on. So that was basically how my 3rd year went and how I qualified and ended up getting my NMC pin. So after completing my course, I then applied for my NMC pin. I paid for it. You have to pay like £120 in order for you to be on the register. They do a background check on you to see if you've got any criminal convictions and things like that. So after I got my NMC pin, I was then able to start working straight away. However, I decided to take a 6-month break after qualifying. I was like, this has been way too much. I need a break, I need a breather, because those 3 years were very intense and I was like, I'm not going straight into work after being a student midwife for 3 years. So I decided to take a 6-month break. I was basically just doing a healthcare job because obviously I needed money, but I didn't want to become a midwife straight away after qualifying. So I took 6 months out and then I started my job as a newly qualified midwife in 2021, March 2021, and I basically applied at a hospital near me. I got through to the interview, I did the exams, and I basically then started my journey as a registered midwife. So that's basically my my midwifery journey and how it was like for me. I'm gonna see if I've missed out any questions that you guys may have asked. I have written some down on my phone so that I don't forget any, and then we're gonna answer them. And then yeah, if you guys have any more, please leave them down in the comment section below and I will be sure to answer them as I always do. But some of the questions that you guys constantly ask me are, did you enjoy your uni life? So my uni life was basically just midwifery. I lived and breathed midwifery for those 3 years. I did try to have a life outside of midwifery. I wanted to still see my friends, I wanted to still have family time, I wanted to, you know, travel, but I couldn't do that as often. So there were so many things that I missed out on, so many girls trip that I didn't go on to. So I didn't have a, you know, a best uni life because I literally focused on midwifery because I didn't want to fail. It took me 3 attempts to become a midwife and I was like, I'm gonna give it my all in order for me to basically become a registered midwife. So I didn't join like any clubs at the university. I didn't go to Freshers Week and things like that because I had already done that when I went to university for the first time. So I basically lived my best life when I went and did my first degree. I was going to Freshers Week, I was going out, I was partying. But when I started my midwifery course, I basically was like, yeah, tunnel vision, this is what I want to do, this is what it's gonna take. I'm not gonna be doing a madness, I'm not gonna be flying out every week, I've got assignments to do, I'm doing all-nighters in the library and things like that. So that was basically what my uni life was. So another question that people ask me is, did I make any friends on the course? So yes, I made some friends while I was on the midwifery degree course, and these friends are still my friends currently. Now that I'm 2 years into my role, I basically still talk to them, we share notes, we talk about our experiences as newly qualified midwives, we help each other out if we need references for stuff and things like that. So I basically made friends on the course, and I would recommend you do make friends because they could literally help you study, they can support you during assignments, you guys can, you know, have each other's back, you can lean on each other. But yes, I did make friends while I was on the midwifery degree course. So that is all for today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you guys have any further questions that you guys would like to ask me, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'm always happy to answer your questions. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you guys in my next video, which will hopefully be soon. So until then guys, bye.